Well, the Buccos have kicked off their season in full flurry. At least we hope so. Meanwhile, the Penguins are kind of faltering these days. And the NCAA finals are underway. We'll get underway tonight. It's Monday Night Sports Talk. Welcome in. I am Greg Banks live in the studio, along with Jimmy Ty from Johnstown, Jeff Speck, by the way, from Huntington tonight, and we'll await Dave Shannon, see if he makes it from Altoona. But if you'd like to be a part of the show tonight, simply give us a call at 814-619-4286. That's 814-619-4286. We'll talk baseball tonight. We'll talk hockey. We'll talk basketball. And we'll talk about anything you want to talk about regarding sports. Meanwhile, Jimmy, how you doing? How you make out on your bracket this year, by the way? Did the finals come out exactly like you thought they would?
I have Wisconsin versus Duke in my championship game with Wisconsin winning.
Okay.
I had Wisconsin beating Kentucky in the Final Four. Only one I missed was Michigan State.
Yep.
But I read a stat on ESPN the other night. It said only 4.4 Americans picked Wisconsin Duke, and I guess I'm one of the 4.4% that picked it. So
there you go.
I'm pretty happy.
Hey, Jeff, how'd you make out on your brackets this year, by the way?
The one side of my bracket was blown apart a long time ago, but
Yeah.
I did have Wisconsin meeting up with Kentucky, and Wisconsin coming out on top, so I look like a genius on one side.
Okay, that was one of my questions, is like, how do you guys see the matchup tonight? And I'll start with you, Jeff, between Duke and Wisconsin, and give me a little prediction about how that game's going to end this evening.
Well, I've been going back and forth, and of course I like to put a lot of stuff on my Facebook and different blogs and stuff, and yesterday I was boldly going to go Duke, and I've sat back and thought about it, and I'm going to go with Wisconsin by about a 10-point win tonight.
Yeah.
I've been on the bandwagon through the tournament, and hey, both these teams, they're just playing outstanding basketball. Everyone's talking about Kaminsky, one of the being the top player, either here or Okafor is the top players, and man, to me, Sam Decker, I was on this last week. I think he's impressed me well. When you look at probably what that matchup is going to be tonight, I would imagine probably Decker and Winslow, and neither one of those guys are an all-American first team this year. I mean, if you started watching the tournament with those two guys, you'd have thought, man, these were the dominant forces the whole way through.
Yeah.
And I've got to think probably with Wisconsin. I mean, you're going to have that Okafor-Kaminsky battle, and then Decker and Winslow, and I think that's going to be a big key there. But Decker knocking down 20.6 points a game, that's impressive. 15 to 30 from the three-point line, and he's even better when he gets in under the basket when he's driving to the hoop. Right. Man, he's a force there. So yesterday I was ready to jump on the jump ship and go with the Blue Devils, but I think I'm going to stick with Wisconsin all the way through.
Yeah, Jimmy, you surprised that Kentucky kind of failed at going to a perfect season this year? I mean, when it's all said and done.
No, I'm not really that surprised. If you look at it, these are 18, 19-year-old kids with the whole world on their shoulders, being perfection.
Right.
That plus going to school and everything else. So I'm not too surprised. I think the pressure got to them too much, even though John Calipari said, no, it's not that, it's not that. I still think it was too much pressure for them, and they ran into a buzzsaw with Wisconsin. And the key for tonight's game is not Kaminsky, it's not Decker or Okafor or Winslow. The key for this game is the guard play. Can the Wisconsin guards control the ball?
Yeah.
And can the Duke guards score enough? The guard play is going to be very key, and if it's a close game,
Whoops. Yep. Go ahead.
If it's a close game, look at the foul shooting. Wisconsin cannot miss from the foul line, and Wisconsin will win this game if it's a close game.
Well, Jeff said
because of foul shots.
Yeah, Jeff said he thinks. I believe he said Wisconsin by 10. What do you see in this game tonight? The winner, and maybe a prediction on how much of a point spread there will be.
Wisconsin by 5.
By 5. Okay. Hey, let me ask you this question, guys. On Monday Night Sports Talk, it's Greg Banks in the studio. Jeff Speck joining us from Huntington. Jimmy Ty in Johnstown. Jeff, if Duke wins tonight, does Coach K become, in your mind, the greatest coach in at least this era? I mean, I know that John Wooden has the legacy and the heritage and the history, but when we look at this era in college ball, do you think Coach K obviously ranks up there with one of the best? And that was for Jeff. There's Jeff. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
I would say, I'll just cut in. I would say that Coach K would be one of the best. If you look at his teams, they lose players, but they add the players like Okafor or like Grayson Allen.
Right.
That Grayson Allen's going to be like the next. He's going to be the next J.J. Redick for Duke.
Okay.
So I would say that Coach K's legacy would be cemented as one of the greatest coaches in NCAA history.
Okay, in college basketball. Dave Shannon, by the way, joining us now. Just joining us moments ago on the airnetwork.net. It's Monday Night Sports Talk. Glad to have you along, Dave. We were just talking about tonight's upcoming finals between Duke and Wisconsin, and we were trying to get some predictions on this. You just joining us. What was your thoughts, first of all, on this matchup between Duke and Wisconsin, and do you have a prediction on the winner tonight?
Well, obviously, based on my predictions last week, Greg, that if you want the kiss of death, you have me pick your team.
Yeah.
Because I picked it was opposites weekend for me.
Yeah.
Don't pick Wisconsin.
I had picked Kentucky because I really thought that team could go all the way.
Right.
And, maintain the undefeated season. And I thought Michigan State had that little bit of spark in them to get by Duke.
Right.
And neither thing happened. And right now, I got to be honest with you, I really like the way Wisconsin played against Kentucky. And I think Wisconsin has this win and a national championship.
Okay. Well, one of the things I did mention, and we lost Jeff there for a second. Jeff, you with us again? Okay, he's not with us, but I had asked Jimmy, if Duke wins, does Coach K become one of the greatest coaches, at least in this era, Dave? We're not going back to the Wooden days, obviously, but do you maybe understand why there is some controversy when people even mention that about Coach K?
Gee whiz, I mean, it's kind of difficult to... It's even the same thing with players, Greg, because the era changes the way you look at things.
Oh, yeah,
And this is such a different era compared to what John Wooden coached in.
Mm-hmm.
The players are different. Their attitudes are different.
They stayed longer, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, John Wooden, when he signed someone up at UCLA, he expected, and rightfully so, that they would be there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
There was no early departure. The way the system worked at that time was you signed up, you got 4 years out of that player, unless they were academically ineligible for some reason.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't get the full 4 years, but you expected to get 4 years out of that person, and generally you did, and it's just a different era. It's kind of like I think back to the days of Penn State there in the 60s and 70s and how much different that was then to what it is now. So it's kind of tough to make those direct comparisons because the coaches now, to Coach K's credit, he's been in it long enough that he's managed to transition through a lot of different things.
Yeah, he's going through some changes, obviously, from way before we had email, way before we had text.
Yeah.
And having said that, so I think it's safe to say, maybe you'll agree with me, that at least the last 25 years, quarter of a century, he would be known as one of the greatest coaches of college basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, I would have to say so. I think he's, if we're looking for someone out of this era to be a Wooden, he's more of a Wooden than anyone else that's out there. And maybe his closest competitor, I think, would be Rick Pitino.
Yeah. And then, of course, Dean Smith, having passed away, he had his own era, too, so he would be one of the great ones from his so-called era. Okay. Hey, Jeff, are you back with us, by the way?
I certainly hope so. I got all you guys.
Okay, there he is. Jeff is back on the internet.
My only thought on tonight is also how much does Wisconsin have left? And I think that's, to me, boy, that could be the thing. I mean, look at the path they've had to take to get there. Oregon, North Carolina, Arizona, Kentucky, and I don't want to say Duke had an easier path, but a little easier path.
Well, the question I asked Jimmy and Dave when we lost you was, if Duke wins tonight, does Coach K kind of like solidify his legacy as one of the greatest coaches in the last 25 years, at least.
No, without a doubt. I mean, he's there, and you compare him to Wooden. I don't know if that's fair to compare Wooden, anyone to John, but I think that without a doubt, he's right up there as the top or number two, real close.
All right, I'm getting a lot of feedback, guys, so I don't know if somebody has their speakers up or what the case might be there. But hey, let me ask you this, Jimmy. Does Wisconsin's appearance in the finals tonight validate the Big Ten now as a basketball power conference?
Well, if you have Wisconsin, you had Michigan State in the Final Four. So I would say yes, right now they do. They had Ohio State in the tournament. They had Iowa in the tournament. So, yeah, I would say that you can say Big Ten basketball is huge right now. So, yeah, I would say yes, definitely.
Okay, your feelings on that day? Big Ten now a powerhouse in basketball, maybe?
I don't think they ever really dropped out, Greg. The one thing I think that did happen was some other conferences took over a prominence role.
Yeah.
Your ACCs. Also, the Big 12, I expected something more out of the Big 12 here in the field of 64, and that didn't happen either. So it looked like a powerful conference all season long and got a lot of attention, but in the end, they didn't make it to the Final Four. But, yes, I think it reestablishes.
Yeah.
I think just the media kind of had that idea that the conference, and there were a lot of, those instances where the Big Ten teams were doing a one and done, maybe a two and done, certainly folding before the Final Four. And as you say, two teams in the Final Four from the Big Ten reestablishes them as a top conference in the country.
The same question for you, Jeff. Your thoughts on Wisconsin appearing in the finals tonight, kind of lifting up the Big Ten, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I look back to a couple of years ago, someone had to fill the gap of what was the Big East.
Right.
I mean, without a doubt, they were it. So, it opened up the door for some other folks to make a run and maybe take that elite status. Because, every year you're looking at Big Ten, Big East. If they only had 6 teams in the tournament, why, it was a pretty off year.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just a beast of a league, and it gave the opportunity for a Big Ten to step up there, and yeah, I think they're flexing their muscle and showing that they obviously deserve to be there.
Yeah. Before I wrap it up about the men tonight, was there any doubt, or do you guys have any kind of misgivings on Saturday when you were watching that Kentucky game that, again, that Indiana's prolific run back, when was that, 74, 75, 75, 76? Yeah, 76. Did you think it was threatened at all? I mean, at that point. Jeff, we'll start with you, then we'll talk with Dave about that.
Oh, I think it was. I think there was definitely the threat was there, but I played out the way I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be Wisconsin and Kentucky. Like I said, had that side perfect, but I didn't see Kentucky sealing the deal.
Yeah, Dave, you know how we like to think sometimes we're haters, but did you want to see Kentucky just run through this thing and proclaim history, or did it go the way you thought it would go?
No, I really did. There's a side of me. I like Coach Cal. I think Coach Calipari is an excellent coach, and I was hoping for good things for him. And the team seemed to play with so much poise. Mm-hmm. And in the end, to me, here's one thing about that game I was a little bit disappointed in, Greg. I thought officiating played more of a role in that Kentucky-Wisconsin game. And it got to a point where you could kind of see some of the calls looked like, okay, that was a previously bad call, so now I'm going to do a makeup call.
Yeah, makeup, right.
Mm-hmm. And I don't like it when officials dig themselves a hole and get into that situation because, once again, it goes back to not every play is reviewable, as it should be, because, for God's sake, it'd take, about 6 hours to play anything anymore if they wanted to review everything. I just wish the officials would say, okay, I blew it, let's move on. But, and as much as an official will tell you that they do have that attitude that I blew it, I'm just going to move on, they don't. Honest to goodness.
Oh, no, it seems like sometimes there's reciprocity or retaliation. Yep. It's like, I've got to make up for that bad one I called.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of saw that there in that Kentucky-Wisconsin game Saturday. But, and there was no room for the officiating to Duke just ran away with that early game.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no room for officiating to play a role in that one. But that, as I say, no, I was on Kentucky's side. I really did. I like Coach Cal. Seemed like a good group of kids.
Yeah.
And it turns out it wasn't their year.
Well, Jimmy, did you want to see history being made, or I got the feeling like you didn't want to see Kentucky make this 40-0 run from the beginning? Is that right, or is that how you felt?
I just felt that it was too much pressure. I didn't mind if they would have won 40-0. I think that would have been great for sports.
Yeah.
Great for college basketball. But my thing was, I knew it was going to end because you have Kentucky as a young team.
Right.
Going against a veteran team like Wisconsin. So I knew that it was going to end there. Whenever they would hit like the older teams, more polished teams.
Yeah.
And
if it goes without saying, Wisconsin really wanted to retaliate. They wanted to come back from last year, where they obviously lost early on.
That's where I underestimated that game.
I did too.
But Wisconsin. Sorry, Dave, but Wisconsin lost in the Final Four last year against Kentucky, so it was like a redemption game.
Oh, that's exactly what we were talking about. Yeah, I mean, they wanted to redeem themselves, and in fact, they did. So tonight should be a great ball game. Duke, Wisconsin, I believe that comes up between 9:30 tonight, so if you can stay up and watch that, best of luck to both teams. And this is Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio. Dave Shannon from Altoona. We've got Jeff Speck Huntington, Jimmy Ty in Johnstown. Let me ask you guys, I haven't followed women's basketball that closely this year. And for some reason, I don't know, I get the feeling, Jeff, like they're not really promoting it like they have the men this year. So there again, we've got the Lady Huskies of Connecticut taking on Notre Dame. And I guess the only thing I can ask you guys as we do round robin here is, do you think the Lady Huskies will continue their quest tomorrow night and, of course, deal another loss to Notre Dame this year and become the champions?
Dominance continues. That's all you need to know about women's basketball. Connecticut is just they're in a whole different plane. They play at a different level. I saw a report yesterday or today that their average win in this tournament, they've beaten the teams by an average of 41 points a game. 4-1.
That's unreal.
And so when you talk dominance, I mean, UConn's just they're at a whole different level, and good luck to Notre Dame.
yeah, lots of luck to Notre Dame. Dave, what's your thoughts on that game tomorrow night, Lady Huskies versus Notre Dame?
Yeah, Notre Dame, they definitely showed that they had a little bit of a weakness there, because there was a point in that South Carolina game, and this tends to happen. I think Jeff hit it right on the head. With women's basketball, you've got whoever's at the top, and then you have everybody else.
Yeah.
And normally it's maybe only the next 4 or 5 teams below them that have a sniff of competing against the top team. Right now, the top team, as it has been for an extended period, is UConn. Mm-hmm. So I watched Notre Dame have struggles against South Carolina in their game. And I did not catch any of the women's, the other.
I watched the Connecticut game. Let me go back to something I just heard here recently. Now,
sure.
Gino's head coach. What's his last name? Gino.
Ariema.
Okay, Ariema. Okay, yeah. He was in Hollidaysburg scouting a young lady for. I guess she played for Altoona against Hollidaysburg this year. Mm-hmm. So he's gotten girls from our region in the past who have helped him, obviously. And, Jeff, you remember there were a couple of girls that came from this
Weber.
area. Yeah, Pam Weber
out of Hollidaysburg.
Exactly.
I mean, what a find she was. So that tells you we got some good girls basketball players in this area.
Yeah, and we had Mary Four, Tom Four's daughter, for Notre Dame for all those years. Mary didn't get a whole lot of time playing, but Gino mentioned last week, Jimmy, that the men's and women's game, he says that the men's game is slower. He doesn't know what he's watching. Now, I don't know. I kind of have this feeling like, oh, man, you know what? If the previous head coach of Connecticut would still be there, he'd have walked down the hallway and punched Gino out. But no, seriously, that's what would have happened, okay? Yeah. If you remember the old coach they had that was there for years, I can't recall his name now. Jim Calhoun. But let me ask you, Jimmy, I watched these girls last night for Notre Dame and in Maryland, and I watched Connecticut and South Carolina. These girls were scrapping, man. They were jumping out of bounds. They were going after the ball. They're on the floor. I don't see the guys doing that a whole lot. Is that what he meant by the game's kind of different and the men aren't doing their jobs? I mean, what is that about? Do you understand?
Yeah. What I see with the women's game is they don't flop. Like in the men's game, you take a charge.
Right.
The guy's going to go flop and try to cause a foul. The women's game is, let's just go out to the backyard, all blood and guts.
Yeah.
And whoever wins, wins.
Yeah.
In the men's game, and I think that's what he's trying to get at. Is it's more flopping. It's
And the women's game too, man.
The women's game, they dive after the ball. They'll run into the cameraman, videographers, or whatever. You know.
But
so I think that's what he's trying to get at.
I also noticed on defense, it just seems like they get back faster. Does it seem that way to you, Jeff? I mean, when you watch the women's game, they make the basket and they're back on defense rather quickly.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you even see that. I spend a lot of time at the Juniata College gym in Division III.
Yeah.
The men, someone will get the rebound, and not a lot of people are sprinting back down and getting position. It's like, we'll get down there unless they got a fast break opportunity. Yeah, I mean, they get there, but I mean the women, even at the D3 level, they're out. They hustle, they move it, they get back, they are set up on defense. Where in the men's game, boy, it's not uncommon to see one or two guys just kind of trailing behind and. Yeah, I'll get there, man. Don't let anything bad happen.
Yeah, I just mentioned that because I thought when he said that the other day, I thought, man, if Calhoun were still in the building, there'd have been a fight, man. No doubt. Hey, anyhow, that's wrapping it up for basketball this season, guys. I appreciate that. But let's talk about baseball, huh? It's Monday Night Sports Talk on the airnetwork.net. Dave Shannon live in Altoona. We got Jimmy Ty, Johnstown, Jeff Speck in Huntington. Yours truly, Greg Banks, in the studio tonight. And our phone number, by the way, is 814-619-4286. 814-619-4286. Give us a buzz. Coming up, we're going to talk about, though, Pirates baseball, the season opener, and those faltering Pittsburgh Penguins, all coming up next. Need printing services done with quality, on time, and at a reasonable price? Then stop by Images Print Shop in downtown Huntington, where they can help you design and print brochures, business forms, business cards, newsletters, flyers, and so much more. Images Print Shop is your hometown print shop and web hosting service dedicated to excellent and quality service at affordable prices. See what Images Print Shop can do for you online at imagesprintshop.com or call us weekdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 643-1796.
Kick off your appetite with great food from Original Italian Pizza in downtown Huntington, where Bearcat fans huddle up before and after the big game. OIP in downtown Huntington provides your taste buds with appetizers, dinners, pizzas, subs, and so much more. Stop by OIP in downtown Huntington for a sandwich, meal, and cold drinks 7 days a week, or call ahead for takeouts at 643-0665 or 643-0666. OIP in downtown Huntington with the best food and the lowest prices in town.
Hey Frank, some of us are going out for lunch. Want to join?
No thanks. I won't be able to make it for a while. My son's heading to a 4-year university this fall, and I'm watching every penny I can to help him with tuition.
Yeah, that can be so expensive. My daughter decided to go to Pennsylvania Highlands Community College. She'll earn her associate degree in 2 years before transferring to earn her bachelor's. I'll be able to save thousands by her attending Penn Highlands first.
Pennsylvania Highlands, really? My son is stuck on attending a 4-year university right away, far from home.
My daughter was the same until I explained to her that she'd end up with the same degree and far less debt. I don't want to see her starting out her adult life with a lot of debt. Penn Highlands just made the most sense. So, enjoy lunch.
Hey, wait for me.
I thought you couldn't afford to eat out.
That was before you mentioned Penn Highlands. How do I find out how to get my son enrolled?
I'll fill you in over lunch, but start by visiting Pennsylvania Highlands online at pennhighlands.edu.
It's Monday Night Sports Talk on the airnetwork.net. Thanks for joining us on your mobile device or perhaps online at www.theairnetwork.net. Live in Johnstown, Jimmy Ty. Live in Altoona, we've got Dave Shannon and Jeffrey Speck live in Huntington. Baseball season, by the way, is officially underway. It's first day of baseball season. Of course, they opened up the season last night. And, oh, my God, the first thing I thought of, man, guys, Cardinals look good. And all I can say is, geez, we got to probably play them sometime this season. But let's talk about the Pirates season opener. First off, Dave, let me just ask this question because, again, I just found out, Jimmy, you said the final score is
5-2, Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati Reds. Johnny Cueto gets the win, and he was on.
No.
He doesn't get the win?
No, Diaz gets the win.
No.
Watson gets the loss.
Okay.
Chapman gets the save.
Yeah, here's what happened, Dave. There was actually a rain delay for about, 35 minutes. Cueto was winning 2-0. Pirates did come back after that rain delay and tied it up at 2-2. And we started out with Liriano, and he didn't look bad. You think, Jimmy, did he look bad? I thought he looked half decent today. And I was surprised Cervelli had his bat out today. There were some other surprises today. But having said that, are you guys, first of all, Dave, excited about the start of baseball season?
Yeah, because it's always exciting to me to see, and boy, I'll tell you what, for me, I want to see what the difference is between the good things that happen in spring training and how does that translate once they go, in the case of Florida, most of the teams go up north.
Yeah.
With a notable exception of Miami. And, the Cactus League teams come east for the most part. But it's interesting to see how that transition happens and whether the good things you saw in spring training translate into the regular season. Now, I was very surprised. I thought Cervelli had a much better season than I had expected, spring than what I had expected out of him.
Yeah.
And actually, I got to give the kid a chance. I really want to look at that because I'll still stand by there's a quarterback in baseball just like there is in football, and it's the catcher.
It's the catcher, yeah. He's the leader, really, yeah.
Absolutely, and that's the big one for me is to see. So I am excited to watch that. The other thing is I want to see how the pitching evolves here over the because of having a couple of elder statesmen there in AJ and Francisco.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And seeing how Francisco tired at the end of the season. I want to see how they're doing here in the spring. That'll help me determine whether they're going to be much of a factor come the end. I don't have a lot of hopes for them, but, if Cervelli comes out here and really puts on a show, and the other thing was I loved how Tony Sanchez seemed to be really driven in spring training to do much better, did look better, always did hustle well, but seems to be making better and smarter plays. So, that's the thing as far as being a Pirates fan that I'm looking forward to. And I don't want to make a lot of early judgments, but this first month of the season is going to be very interesting.
Well, one of the interesting things is, and I think we forgot to even mention this, that Cervelli and Burnett had been battery mates before in New York. So it's not like these guys, especially Cervelli, is without any kind of experience, Jeff. So I wanted to ask you this question. Are you satisfied with the Buccos lineup thus far? I mean, as we know it, because now Charlie Morton's on the DL, and they bring up, another guy. I think Worley is now solid in that rotation. You satisfied?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be adjustments as we go along here, and I think some people, talk to some Pirate fans around here, and I think they need to temper that their hopes for Garrett Cole. I mean, I've heard people talking, man, we're going to get 200 innings out of him this year. Let's remember this guy. If we can get him up to the 150, 160, 170 innings, boy, that might be pushing it because we've still got a guy who's developing here. But I'm sure the Pirates are hoping he's an ace and would love to get 200 innings out of him. But we worry about the older guys on the Pirates staff, but let's also temper our enthusiasm and let Garrett Cole continue to develop also. That's my word of caution for Pirates fans.
Well, it almost sounds to me like you were talking to Ginny and Marty at some given time because they seem to have rather high hopes after talking with us on the air last week here on Monday Night Sports Talk. By the way, our number, if you'd like to call, 814-619-4286. That's 814-619-4286. Jimmy, the expectations are kind of high here for the Pirates. I mean, I saw Buster Only from ESPN. He says they're going to make it to the World Series this year. How many games do you actually expect the Buccos to win this season? Seriously.
85.
85 this year?
About 85 wins. With Liriano today, he had 60 strikes. 32 of them were balls. He had 7 strikeouts. So that's a good that's through 7 innings.
And that's a good start. But let's face it,
That is a good start.
like Dave said, hey, here's spring. You know, the weather was wet there in Cincinnati. It was drizzling throughout most of the day. Then it rained. There was a delay. It's going to be a long season. And, you know, you got to remember McCutchen really he didn't get that many bats this year in spring training. So you say 85. Dave, what's your thoughts on how many games they might be able to pull off and maybe make it to the playoffs, let alone the World Series this year?
Yeah, I'm in Jimmy's camp on this. That sounds to me to be a good number. I was thinking maybe 88, but not much more above that. By the way, McCutchen didn't play much in the spring. He was 2 for 4 today.
Okay, yeah. And so that might not be a bad thing because, you know, every other year he got a lot of bats in it spring, and then he started out real slow. So
you're telling me the power wasn't in the hair.
No, it wasn't in the hair.
Samson didn't need his locks.
No.
There we go.
And he's now gotten his own Delilah, so, you know, he's probably doing okay. You know what I'm saying? I saw I saw her on Ellen. She's not a bad-looking girl, you know.
Yeah, so. I just watched, they're running highlights right now from the game, and I just saw his rip to right center field. What a opposite field home run.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of that Mets, I want to call them the Senators, man. That tells you how old I am. Washington, okay? I watched a little bit of that game. My God, the Senators. Jeez. You remember Bob Weir, Jeff, real quick?
I sure do.
He was a scout for the Washington Senators when Frank Howard played for them. All right, we need to change their name. Anyhow, New York Mets and Washington played today, okay? So, and it wasn't a bad opener for what's the guy that they brought over, and got all the money, the pitcher they brought in, the Nationals. Oh, man, I can't remember the guy's name now. Chad's probably down there watching the game today when he might have been in D.C. But anyhow, I was not totally impressed with the guy that they brought over that made all this money. And his name eludes me at the moment. But anyhow, Jimmy, let me ask you this. Your expectations for this season, how do you see this thing playing out this season? Let's first of all ask you, who's going to lead the National League? Because, you know, the Cardinals are always going to be in the race. Who do you see that might be able to take it all in the National League?
The Washington Nationals. Hands down. Okay. Washington Nationals. They have the hitting with Ian Desmond, with Harper.
Scherzer was his name. I'm sorry, Scherzer.
Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
But they have the hitting. They have the pitching. The key is for Washington is their bullpen going to be elite this year? If their bullpen's elite, Washington will go to the World Series.
Okay, Dave, I know it's early, but this is cool because we can always listen back to this in October and say, Jesus, I missed that by a mile.
Yeah, well, I think we need to, you know, in all fairness, give ourselves an all-star break chance to make another prediction because that's another crucial point in the season.
Oh, exactly, yeah. You know, we get guys called up. We get guys that are coming in. Hey, for instance, Jeff, this kid from the Cubs that they sent down to AAA ball, we talked a little bit about him last week.
Right.
Now, when I'm listening to Buster Only and I'm looking at some of these blogs, they're picking him as Rookie of the Year, and the kid's not even in the league yet.
They're busting back up here soon.
Yeah. So, you know.
I don't think it'll be a long wait seeing him back in Cubby uniform.
Right. So, as somebody else mentioned, okay, we know that the Cubs are loaded. We know the Padres reloaded this year.
We did.
But, you know, here we sat for a minute, and we said, Jesus, you know what? We never thought about the Reds. And it wasn't like they were that bad last year. So, Dave, as I say that, is there somebody in the National League that you really see emerging this year? And then I'll go to Jeff.
I think if we want to look at the idea of a surprise team, you know, when Chad was with us back before baseball duties took him away from the show, he had mentioned the Mets.
Yeah.
And I really think the Mets do have the potential to make some noise in the National League. I think the other aspects are going to be it's the usual suspects. Yeah. And I think the Cardinals are there. I think the thing with the Cardinals that may play out this year that maybe hasn't in the past is the age of the team and, you know, where that takes you as you get deeper and deeper into the season.
Yeah.
You know, where are those guys? Are they still playing at the level that they need to be at the end of the season? So, you know, I think maybe – I agree, though, with Jimmy. I love the Nationals. I think they have the team that can go all the way. But I think the Mets are a team that will make some noise. And here's another one that we don't talk a lot about, but I don't know that they're quite ready yet. I didn't see a lot of the moves that they made that would have taken them to that next level is Miami.
Oh,
Miami being one of those sleeper teams. I really love Giancarlo Stanton. I think he's an outstanding player.
Well, the fact that you mentioned his name, Buster Olney, and this blog I was reading, first of all, the pitcher of the year getting the Cy Young is supposed to be Matt Harvey. If you remember, he's with the Mets. He was out, I believe, with Tommy John last year. Yeah. And then they mentioned Stanton, of course. And then they also mentioned, and I can't believe this, I believe they said that Josh Harrison, one of the major players this year, and that's a reason why the Pirates would make it to the World Series. So I don't know. You can't always believe what you read, but it's kind of nice that the Pirates are being mentioned, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they've actively got themselves into the conversation, just by getting a positive record after all those years, and then repeating and getting into the postseason again. I think this is crucial this year, too. It's great to be in the postseason. Boy, it would be really outstanding if they could get themselves a division win. If they could do that, boy, you talk about cementing a franchise back into the fold, that would do it.
Well,
any of us
Go ahead, Jeff.
who had a microphone in front of our face, after the first pitch was made in the Pirates season for about 20 years, that's usually when we mathematically eliminated them from playoff contention.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is refreshing. This is a breath of fresh air that we've got some people going as far as the World Series. So that's nice instead of already being out of the playoff hunt on opening day.
Yeah, attitudes have changed over the last 2 years, haven't they, man? Yeah.
But I would say this. A team that is going to surprise a lot. I just said the Nationals, but watch out for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
They made a lot of moves this offseason, bringing in Matt Kemp, bringing in James Shields, Upton. They just traded for the best reliever in Major League Baseball, and Craig Kimbrell. Mm-hmm. Watch out for the San Diego Padres.
Well,
that's going to be a sleeper right there.
Go ahead, Jeff.
My surprise, it's going to be rough out west, and I think the Dodgers are going to be the team that's going to shock a lot of people. I can see them easily winning 90 games this year.
Yeah. Anything that you see on the horizon, Dave, as we're talking about predictions?
I'll stick with that Mets idea. I think the Mets have maybe what it takes this year.
Well, I'm going to ask you to make a prediction in a minute. This is about the Penguins, by the way, coming up next,
Lord.
Dave. So stick around. We've got more Monday Night Sports Talk coming up next, live with Jimmy Ty from Johnstown. We got Dave Shannon, Altoona, Jeff Speck in Huntington, yours truly, Greg Banks, in the studio. Give us a call, 814-619-4286, 814-619-4286. We'll be right back. If you're searching for a used vehicle, or perhaps a used boat for a leisurely trip on the lake, find them today online at penswoods.net. From things for sale or things to buy, the free classifieds at penswoods.net have it all. From houses for sale, apartments for rent, or even things to trade, penswoods.net is the region's largest site for free classifieds. Check it out today and make money or save money at penswoods.net. Restore the luster of your home or business now by calling Ted's Painting and Drywall at 814-641-0479. Ted's Painting and Drywall does quality exterior and interior painting, staining, faux finishing, trim work, and wall repair. Plus, Ted's Painting and Drywall can remove wallpaper and finish drywall for one room or the whole house. Ted's Painting and Drywall, a licensed contractor offering a 20% discount to seniors and 35% discount to churches. Book your work now at Ted's Painting and Drywall. Call 641-0479.
I'm coming home.
What does sacrifice mean to you? Is it giving up your time and energy to keep America safe? Is it putting yourself in harm's way to protect our nation's way of life? No? Then maybe it's giving up that third latte to take care of the heroes that do.
The VFW makes it easy to help. Just call 1-855-9-HELP-VET. That's 855-9-HELP-VET.
The VFW. No one does more for veterans.
This message brought to you by the Huntington VFW, Post 1754 on Penn Street. It's Monday Night Sports Talk. You can always find us Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. live online or perhaps your mobile device. And also check out our rebroadcast. Now, I know I've given the number out before. I'll give it out again. 814-619-4286. 814-619-4286. Now, I'm giving it out now. It's Monday. It is now about 20 minutes before 8. If you hear this on Thursday, don't call that number. Because, and the only reason I say that is we have had probably calls on Tuesday because we play it back at 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. Well, I'm getting calls at like maybe around 2:30 p.m., and I'm not in the studio. And I guess, and then it tells us, well, you missed 10 calls. Well, you should have called Monday.
Yeah, really.
Don't
They
call
put a
us
recording and we'll play them back the next week.
Yeah, don't call us on Friday.
Answering machine.
Yeah, I got to figure that out. It's built into this system, and maybe you can leave a message. But when I go to call that or pull it up, there's no messages at all. So this is Monday. We're live, okay? If you're calling Tuesday or Wednesday, wait till Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Anyhow, it's Monday Night Sports Talk. Jeff Speck from Huntington, Dave Shannon, Altoona, Jimmy Ty in Johnstown. Okay, now I've gotten to the portion of the show that, quite frankly, we could make a show out of this by itself. But let me at least ask this question to my good friend Dave Shannon, because he's the hockey fan, and the rest of you guys, I know you watch it, but he lives and breathes it, and he dies by this team. You pretty much will be dead here soon, Dave, but listen.
Yeah.
Can the Penguins at least make the playoffs this season? And why?
Right now, I'd have to say no. I mean, here they are playing Ottawa, and they can sew up a playoff berth if they beat them in regulation tomorrow, but I don't see that happening. First of all, Ottawa is playing really well. The Penguins are playing like crap. And so I don't see that happening, and I got questions. Now, I did see with my Penguins app on my phone that they had this big splash ad, get your playoff tickets now. And it's like,
for what year?
Okie, you'll have a collector's item at the rate they're going.
Yeah. No, okay, again, we're live Monday, so they play Ottawa Tuesday, and I think there's only a point difference here that could knock them out and keep them home. Like, some guys might be golfing this time next week on Monday, Dave. That's the crucial part here. What's going on with this team? Now, I understand they have injuries. Are these guys not playing for this guy? Seriously, it sometimes looks like they're not playing for this coach.
I see a guy. I've been preaching this. I did not like Mike Johnson. I thought I gave him a fair shake because I gave him until the end of November, into December. Yeah. And I just realized that this guy is not what the Penguins needed. He is not a good head coach, and you people that are out there that are in the media want to toe the line because you like getting into Consol Energy Center and eating the free food and all that stuff.
Yeah, you get that free room.
Hopefully here at the end of the season you come to your senses and realize that this guy's a stinking junior hockey league coach.
So Belsma wasn't so bad
at the NHL level.
So Belsma, who is now in the... Where is Belsma, by the way? Could they bring him back next year? I mean, so he had a flat year.
Belsman's a commentator for hockey up in Canada now.
Well, he'd come out of retirement real quick, and they offered him the job.
But they wouldn't offer it to him.
No.
Because there's a pride issue with that.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, yesterday, and we were talking about this during the commercial break, so yesterday they suffer another embarrassing loss to the Flyers. They don't win any games in the regular season against the Philadelphia Flyers. And this is what your head coach, you people don't want to support this guy. He's just outstanding. No, he's not. Okay, here's what he says at the end of the game yesterday. They do this little thing with the Pens app, and it's like the 3 points that somebody makes, about the previous game, and they generally use maybe Johnston and one of the players. Well, here's what one of the big three things, the big three takeaways for head coach Mike Johnston. Well, we have to take the good things that happened on Saturday and put them together with the good things that happened on Sunday. And then we have to... Yeah, don't say stuff like that in April when you're a week away from the playoffs.
Well, yeah,
and say that kind of crap in November, you idiot.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting you make mention of that, because I saw that on their website as well, the three takeaways. They get an assistant coach sometimes or somebody in the media, And I'm sitting there, as you say that, thinking, dude, maybe that's a good note to end the season on for next year, but that has nothing to do with this weekend. You got beat by the Flyers twice within 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. I think one of the things, I finally got a friend of mine who's also a big Penguins fan, and I finally got him turned around on Johnston. And, it's almost at the point one of my other fans or friends who's a big fan said, you know what, take the letters off the three guys that have them.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, I kind of like that idea because I give Brendan Sutter the C. Mm-hmm. And I even though Winnick has just come to the team, I give him one of the A's, and I'll give the other A to Craig Adams, who's and all three of those guys are really hard workers, and they go out there every night. I skip Letang. To me, Chris Letang is a top-notch player. Yeah. It's just that right now he's not a part of what that team is doing, and maybe you want to throw that in. But you know what? If you're a good coach and you have the talent that's there, why in the hell can't you put them together so that you got the right combination of players out there on the ice at one time and make something happen? And this guy made one line, group of line changes there when they were going through a similar slump, and it turned the team around, but he never does anything else. It's like, okay, I kind of like the way, and we got to take the good things from this.
So he really can't cite injuries right now as a problem, because one of my questions was, what do these guys have to do to pull out of this tailspin? And you know what? Let's face it, they've got like a day or two to put this together, because I believe their last game is on Sunday.
Right. It's the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
a game they should win, and we know the Sabres are playing for Connor McDavid and trying to get him in the draft, but,
Well, and they pretty much, but if the Penguins lose, they pretty much have to win those last two to get in, don't they?
The thing about yesterday's game, Pittsburgh played hard because they knew they wanted to beat Philadelphia. They don't want to get a shutout against them.
Right.
They played their butts off. It was the goalie that Mason was a brick wall. You couldn't get anything past Mason.
Yeah, but you know what, Dave? Maybe you noticed the same thing I did. I see 3 or 4 guys standing around the net, and somebody goes ahead and hits the puck, and nobody on the defense moves. You know what I'm saying? It's like, help out your goalie.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen them freeze a lot of times.
Oh, man, I've seen it several times.
Yeah, where they do not, it's as though they don't know where to go. Well, where does that come from, huh? Yeah. Who determines that? The head coach determines that.
Well, listen.
If people keep that bozo there for another season, you're crazy and you get what you deserve.
Hell, I'm just learning.
Penalties. Penalties hurt them. 3 out of the 4 goals by the Flyers came off of
power play.
Power play, and the big one was Pittsburgh was up 1-0. They had the momentum. They were going into the They were going into the break. Mm-hmm. What happens? Winnick is skating over towards his bench and cross-checks Courtier. What happens next? The Flyers score 30 seconds later. And that's when the game turned around on that penalty on Winnick, in my opinion, because now you have the momentum in Philadelphia, and you have Pittsburgh skating, away and skating scared, knowing that they cannot score against Mason no matter what they did. Crosby, Horny, Malkin, nobody could score against Mason. He was a brick wall yesterday.
Well, Dave, you see some changes happening. I guess next Monday when you join us, then those changes might have happened already, huh?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know that it'll happen that quickly, but I'll talk about it. I don't see what I need to see in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just wanted to get you in here because I know you got to run off. You got another show to do tonight. Dave Shannon, thank you from Altoona, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right.
Next week, Dave.
All right. Meanwhile, we'll hang out here with Jimmy Ty from Johnstown, Jeff Speck from Huntington on Monday Night Sports Talk in the next 10 minutes. We'll take your calls. 814-619-4286 is my number. 814-619-4286. You got something you want to talk about tonight? Maybe the Final Four? Or perhaps Penguin hockey or Pirate baseball? We still have time, so give us a call here on the airnetwork.net.
Hey, Frank, some of us are going out for lunch. Want to join?
No, thanks. I won't be able to make it for a while. My son's heading to a 4-year university this fall, and I'm watching every penny I can to help him with tuition.
Yeah, that can be so expensive. My daughter decided to go to Pennsylvania Highlands Community College. She'll earn her associate degree in 2 years before transferring to earn her bachelor's. I'll be able to save thousands by her attending Penn Highlands first.
Pennsylvania Highlands, really? My son is stuck on attending a 4-year university right away, far from home.
My daughter was the same until I explained to her that she'd end up with the same degree and far less debt. I don't want to see her starting out her adult life with a lot of debt. Penn Highlands just made the most sense. So, enjoy lunch.
Hey, wait for me.
I thought you couldn't afford to eat out.
That was before you mentioned Penn Highlands. How do I find out how to get my son enrolled?
I'll fill you in over lunch, but start by visiting Pennsylvania Highlands online at pennhighlands.edu.
If you're searching for a used vehicle, or perhaps a used boat for a leisurely trip on the lake, find them today online at penswoods.net. From things for sale or things to buy, the free classifieds at penswoods.net have it all. From houses for sale, apartments for rent, or even things to trade, penswoods.net is the region's largest site for free classifieds. Check it out today and make money or save money at penswoods.net. Net, and it's Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio with Jeff Speck in Huntington. Jimmy Time, our guy in Johnstown tonight. And if you'd like to be a part of the waning moments of this show, the next 10 minutes or so, give us a call, 814-619-4286. That's 814-619-4286. That's a call of spring, Jeff, by the way. That's the real sound of spring you hear in the background here.
Well, I thought maybe a snake was going to pop out of a basket.
No, it's just a little delicious funk that we play in the studio just to kind of get us in the mood for nice days like we had today. So, again, if you'd like to call us, 814-619-4286. Let me ask you, Jeff, you were on the road this weekend. You headed up to West Branch, Morrisdale, Pennsylvania. They had a unique basketball all-star game over the weekend, right?
Just super. It's the 2015 Senior All-Star Madness game, and let's see, we had kids, 3 from Huntington, 2 from Mount Union. I think there were 5 from Tyrone. Kids from Penns Valley, Harmony, Glendale, West Branch, Kernsville, Bald Eagle, Brockway, Clearfield, Central Mountain. So it encompassed a large area, and hats off to head coach up there, Danny Clark, who basically put this thing together in about 2 weeks and wanted to give some of these deserving seniors a good send-off and a way to go out with a lot of fun. I think the final ended up like 113-85.
Whoa, there was no defense in that game.
Not a lot of defense, but boy, there was some tremendous shooting. Huntington's Nate Gearhart walked away with the MVP
good.
trophy.
How'd that Speck boy do?
Not bad. He had a couple of people come over and said, well, he obviously must have learned to play basketball from his mother.
Yeah. Hey, I don't remember. Were you on the high school basketball team for Huntington?
Unfortunately, after the 9th grade year, some medical things, and back in the day when you had a heart murmur.
Oh yeah,
the least bit of contact. Of course, nowadays I think you take a pill and go to Hershey for 5 minutes and you're good to go. But always stuck around the game. But that kind of put an early end to a lot of things I wanted to do.
So they had a good time at the All-Star game, and the people were receptive. Did the people show up to watch at least their kids? I mean, did they have a nice little crowd?
Parents were there, and there were some other people that I knew. Now, my brother Phil had coached along with Tim Lawrence up at West Branch early in their careers, and so some people there got reacquainted with some of the folks in the Morrisdale and Allport area, and pretty nice night. They did a 3-point contest and also did a dunk contest. Now, Trayvon Walker, it was B.J. Lohner. He didn't want to take part in the dunk contest, but which was held at halftime. And 2 minutes into the second half, he went down and laid one down.
During the big show, though.
Huh? Yeah, he would just say he didn't want to waste it at halftime, man. Just put it down when it's on the line.
Jimmy Ty gets up there every once in a while at the East Hills Recreation Center, don't you, Jimmy, and lays it down. Do you ever do a reverse dunk, Jimmy? I mean, seriously, you're tall enough. You could probably do that, huh?
Yes, I did a reverse dunk once or twice here and there, but
that'd be cool. I can't even get up past the. I won't even talk about it. Even getting close to the net, man. I can't even.
I need a step ladder and a trampoline.
Exactly, me too. Hey, but let me ask you this: as we're talking about basketball, Jimmy, I know Ameriserve All-Star Game, I believe, is this weekend up at UPJ, and I understand. You remember one of the coaches, Jody Hildegass? She was at Westmont for many years. Well, I just wanted to make mention she has now gotten married over the last couple of years. I forget her married name, but she is actually coaching her last gig coming up, I believe it's this Sunday, up at UPJ. And she will be the coach of that All-Star game. So, see, even in the Johnstown area, Jeff, we have All-Star games with the Ameriserve, which I believe when they first started that All-Star game for the regional kids in Cambria County and Somerset and maybe Bedford, in those areas, it was played at the Cambria County War Memorial, but this year it'll be up at UPJ. So that's something to look forward to.
And what's nice for these kids is, take my son, for instance, and the guys from the Bearcats, basically one inbound pass and one shot away from being in their second consecutive district championship game this season.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it's in the playoffs or your season ends at the end of the regular season, there's usually tears. But up there on Saturday night, had a fun time, and there were 23 basketball players all smiling after the game, so kind of turned that around no matter where they exited their final regular season or the playoffs. It was all smiles Saturday night, a real feel-good kind of event, and
that's good.
Kids really had fun.
And that's, one of those games, Jimmy, in which I'm sure you played in high school. I don't know if you went on to play in college, but, that's really your last gig, man, that all-star game. But it's kind of friends that you make forever, I mean, seriously. They'll keep in touch with one another. They'll see them as their children then grow, and obviously they'll say, remember that time? And that's really neat. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Speaking of memories, Jeff, my memories this year, time of year, always goes down to Blairfield in Huntington. I'll keep it short. Bob Weir would come into town. He'd play ball with us every day in the summertime. I believe he was a coach in Upper Moreland High School down around Philadelphia area. But I was in Little League at the time, and he'd let us play with the bigger guys. You've got the little guys coming out on the field this weekend. Real briefly, tell us what's happening in Huntington with Little League.
We'll start it off with the traditional parade down on Washington Street at 10:30 on Saturday morning, and into the field, make all the introductions. And this year, a couple of special things. We'll be honoring Ken Prokop and his wife Amy Shalaba Prokop, who Ken had been the president there for years. We'll honor those two. They've done an awful lot. Continue to work for the league, and just maybe stepping back a couple of steps. And then we have one tribute. Our community lost a young man here about a month or so ago, Colin Broombaugh, who suffered a brain aneurysm. Would have been entering the league as an 11-year-old this year and was a heck of a ball player. So excited to get there. Well, the league this year, you'll see on Saturday, all the kids, all the coaches and managers all have his initials on their ball caps for the season, and going to take some time out and introduce his family and have a few words there. I'm going to have to practice that script a little bit because I'm the one delivering it, so that's
well,
be an emotional one, but it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be choking back some tears on that one, but you know what? Yeah. That's a great tribute to him, and also a great way to honor the young man and his family, too, and I'm sure they really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it'll be a good afternoon here in Huntington. Well, I should say late morning Saturday, so hopefully turn those rain spigots off and and have a good Saturday to get it started.
Well, I wish you the best of luck as Little League opens up all over the area this weekend, but more importantly in Huntington, I'm sure. So I'm sure those kids will have a good time. I had some great memories. Jimmy, let me throw this out. Tiger Woods, he's expected to play in the Masters this weekend. Are you going to watch that, or do you feel his best days are behind him now?
Tiger's best days are behind him. Right now, you have golfers such as Hendrik Stenson, Jimmy Walker, Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose, even Rory McIlroy. These guys are the future of golf. Maybe 10 years ago, it was all Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
But he's been injured so much, Greg, and it's not Tiger's time anymore.
Won't the networks be happy to have him back, though?
Oh, they would be happy to have him back.
Tiger draws the audience.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, the winner of the Masters, Jimmy's prediction.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Hendrik Stenson.
Huh.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to that. But, you just mentioned something, Jeff, really important, that the networks really relied a lot on Tiger because he built a whole new audience for people that weren't even into watching golf during that period.
He was the sport. I mean, let's face it, the Golf Channel would have been down the tubes. No Tiger, no Golf Channel. And he just, he just brought, even to someone who, I'm one of those people that used to say I'd sooner watch paint dry than watch golf on TV.
I used to say the same thing.
But Tiger Woods, I was right there because it was just amazing to watch. And my prediction, I'm going to head to South Carolina and pick Dustin Johnson.
Okay, so you're going to NASCAR.
There you go.
He played in Sunny and the Amateur, Dustin Johnson, and so did Tiger Woods.
Yep, I'm gonna go Dustin Johnson here for the green jacket.
Okay. You know what? I thought you were referring to some race car racer there. See, that tells you how much I know about
Jimmy Johnson.
golf.
I figure those guys have enough money to go play golf.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sure they do that on their days off too. But this whole phenomenon with Tiger just eludes me at this point because of the fact that he really is—he's ranked like 110th now. I mean, what are her chances? And you know what? I really want to see if he even makes it to Friday. Seriously. With his back problems, will he make it to Friday?
I think it's that American thing where when you've been up so long, and I think I might have said this in the last week or two.
Yeah.
People like to see that thing or that person, that team, that guy on top.
We want to see a train wreck, man.
Want to get it knocked down a little bit, but then we're going to be there hoping that there's one last ride left in the tank of gas, and if they can come back.
And I think we were all hoping that with Kentucky over the weekend. At least I was. I really wanted to see Kentucky come back and win that. And maybe this weekend he'll have his last blast, as it were, with Tiger Woods in the Masters. Huh? Hey, thanks again to Jeff Speck from Huntington, Jimmy Ty from Johnstown. Guys, thanks for being on the Air Network and on Monday Night Sports Talk. Let's do it again next Monday, eh?
We'll be here.
We got you covered.
Okay, I thought there for a second, Jeff, you were heading down to South Carolina, but you were actually talking about a South Carolinian. Okay, that makes sense.
There you go.
All right, we'll see how your predictions work out for baseball, maybe hockey this week, and even golf, guys. Hey, have a great week, man.
You too.
That wraps it up. Another edition of Monday Night Sports Talk. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again next Monday night, live with Jeff Speck from Huntington, Jimmy Ty from Johnstown, Dave Shannon from Altoona, and yours truly, Greg Banks in the studio. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you.